walking around it. No, start talking about it. Yeah. Welcome to the David Reynolds Show. Now, I've recently been talking about the £100,000 a year creative woman. This is a businesswoman. This is a motherly, nurturing woman. The women who want the end result of actually, finding a good masculine man, even though they don't want to go down the traditional feeling controlled by societal traditions of not being able to, go out and work, make an income for themselves, make their money. And now what I've created is not a compromise, but something based in truth. Okay? There's a lot of women today who are following the advice of female influencers who are going out into the workplaces, making hundreds of thousands and into the millions, right? And then you've got your Rihannas and Beyoncés who have billions. But what people are not doing is finding out whether they actually are happy by the way they were made and created by God. Are they naturally feeling fulfilled? And I know not every woman can give birth, and not every woman has the experience of knowing who she is by becoming a mother. But what I do know is that there is an energy, a masculine and feminine energy, and if you try to push yourself into the masculine world and try to provide and protect and start to dominate and direct and become hardened in your frame of how you navigate the world, you will only be able to attract. In fact, you only put out the vibrational frequency of feminine energy attracted to that, right? And this is why a lot of masculine women attract feminine men, but they don't necessarily class it as that. They don't necessarily describe their men as feminine. They probably don't have much exploration in that sense where they think about it like that. But that's ultimately who they attract, because the energy is whole to have the masculine and feminine dance, right? And what I found in the hundreds and hundreds of difficult conversations I've had with good men and hundreds of difficult conversations I've had with good women, they all want the same thing: a conscious relationship. That means a relationship where you have two individuals coming together in a beautiful, blossoming, passionate, desirable, on purpose type of bond together. But then it's the type that thrives off each other. There's no red flag attachment avoidant type connections there. It's more like it's a beautiful dance of two individuals who've both done the work on themselves. They've been through what they've been through in life, and they've come out the other side as healed, as who they are, as themselves, right? And so this is what I try to teach. I don't tell women that it's capped at £100,000. They can't make any more than £100,000. But what I do say is that, I'm happy to help them make £100,000 without forgetting all the other things that they need to have in place for them to have the vibrational frequency that attracts a good masculine man. The attractiveness. Because yes, your good masculine man wants to have a woman that is attractive, physically attractive. It's more important to him than it is to her. But for a man, you need to look good. And then you've got your business, right? If you're if you're a coach, if you're a creative coach, you're not just a creative coach. You are a marketer as well. You need to know how to market your business. You need to know how to put your message out into the world in a way that it actually attracts the right type of audience who can afford to pay your high ticket prices if you have, high ticket coaching services. And then you have to, you get to be creative. And being creative simply means being the version of you that was made in the image and likeness of God. Okay, we are all creators. And making sure that you don't forget that. Before you were ever in your first relationship, before you lost your virginity as a woman, there was a creativity that you had that may have become dormant that you forgot about. All right. So I don't believe in having to become someone you are not and try to change who you are. I think it's more trying to remember who you are. And when you remember who you are, when you remember your God-given gifts, skills, talents, and cool ideas, and you put them all together and you bring that to the table, you'll always have an answer to the good man that asks, so what do you bring to the table? It's imperative to understand that good men are not only waking up, but since the beginning of time, you can, I haven't read all the holy books and all the scriptures and things like that. I just go from how I'm intuitively guided by God, and the words coming out kind of flow from that place. But I have a lot of certainty in what I say. And I've noticed that if you want to make more sales as yourself and feel happy about selling your services, you need to make sure that you are not selling bits of who you are, meaning just the skill set that you learn in university, or if you didn't go to university, just the skill set you learn on that weekend course to become a coach, or to bake cakes, or to learn how to do hair. Like, knowing that that's not just who you are and that there's more to you, that's when you start to enter the conversation of high ticket luxury sales. Because then what you're doing is you are value stacking. You are bringing more value to the table. And because you bring more value to the table, you're able to get paid more money, right? As a compensation for the results you provide for your customers, for your clients. So let me tell you a bit about my story quickly. Roundabout when R9, this is France 98, so I did a painting of R9. So when R9 needed R10, I call it, R10 being Ronaldinho. So when R9 needed R10, David Reynolds, 10, was a creative footballer on a football pitch. And, I went to a school in Enfield in London, and I wanted to become a footballer. And I had this perception that everyone wanted me to become a footballer, and everyone was rooting for me and wanted me to make it. And, it got to a point where I needed help in navigating a few things whilst going through puberty. The first thing is that I entered puberty quite late, so people around me were growing faster than me. They were becoming more sort of manly than I was, and I just wasn't growing at all. I was like 5'3", 5'4", can't remember, and I stayed around that height throughout my school years, and so what started to happen was I started to buy into these limitation stories of, oh, okay, you're too short, you can't make it. If you're too short, you won't make it in football. I used to play on the right wing. Sometimes I play on the left wing. I could use both my right and my left foot. So that would be in a standard 4-4-2 formation. And and then obviously I started to evolve my game a bit and I became more of a forward. So I wanted to be like Ronaldo. I wanted to be like R9. I wanted to be that good. Although it felt like a dream, I was good enough to be taken seriously when it came to considering me for like, turning professional. And I did get my chance when I got to like year 9, I think, year 8 or year 9. And I went on trial for Wimbledon, and I played in this one-day tournament against Arsenal. I played against Southampton, and I played against Hearts in Scotland. And it was a one-day tournament in London. And I remember the players being so much more stronger than me. And this was the same story coming up. Like, wow, why are these people more developed than me? Why are they like pushing me off the ball so easily? I'm flying, I'm going into tackles and flying out of them like, I've been pushed, but no one's really done that. I've just kind of knocked into them and they're really solid. And I just kept creating this story like, oh no, I'm not strong enough. I'm not big enough. And I didn't have anyone there. My mum was, working. She was trying to provide for us at home. She was working. What I remember is she always would work and then try to look after me and my brothers. So to ask her to like take me to football usually was a bit of a stretch. It was like I didn't want to be that kid that was ungrateful, right? And because she was a single mom for most of my for most of my life growing up. So yeah, what am I saying? When R9 didn't win the World Cup, he needed what I believe was R10. He needed Ronaldinho. He needed someone else to show up when he was too sick to actually play in the final. If you remember, he fell ill and had a bit of a seizure, and then he only his team didn't even go out to warm up. They were also concerned about him, and then he only went and he only confirmed that he was going to take part in the World Cup final, just moments before kickoff. So they were already disorientated. The Brazil national team were quite disorientated going out onto the field to play France in the World Cup final, and they got beat 3-0 eventually. This was World Cup '98. Now, for you football fans out there, 4 years after that, Brazil eventually went on to lift the World Cup. Now, what that says to me, right, is yes, although this is a painting of when he came second, when he didn't win, this was the beginning of the story of that ain't gonna happen next time, right? It was the beginning of his comeback, just standing there and watching France lift the trophy. When all the way up to the final, leading up to the final, he was the guy. He was the GOAT, right? He was the one everyone feared on the football pitch. He was on his game. He was doing his thing. Now, I know there are not a lot of women that are interested in football or care about anything to do with football. But my story, the reason I tell this story is because for a while, I felt like I was in second place to my own dreams becoming a reality. I felt like I couldn't, you know, live my reality with the type of structures I had in place, right? Like I was trying to build these systems and these processes, but I kept getting knocked back from like the universe, and I kept feeling as though, something was telling me no, not now, or somehow not yet. Like, and that feeling persisted for quite a while, and I just used to use that as an excuse to get smarter, to get better, to improve a skill set, to work on a weakness that I have, and I kept doing it and doing it and doing it until I became this really refined version of myself who felt overqualified in every single room he went into, underestimated in every single room he went into. And I felt like, although I was a really good coach and, I was like the star player, I felt like I needed someone, I needed a teammate, and I was missing that teammate. And so I'm the creative player. I would have been able to create for like someone like Ronaldo, right? Like a Ronaldinho. I would have been like his Ronaldinho. And I needed an R9, right? Like, so this is basically what I'm saying. Like, I've always been a creative type, and creative types are usually attacking midfielders in a football pitch. And so I've always had this way of being able to paint and tell stories and use my story to influence and empower people to know what's possible for them if they just truly believe in themselves and feel confident in who they are. So this is the first episode of my podcast. That's Ronaldo R9. You see the R9 boots there. And it will be available for international shipping very soon. I'll give you more details on how you can purchase a print of it. It's 100 centimeters by 100 centimeters. And that will be available very, very soon. So keep a lookout for that. And the 100K a year creative woman, what I believe is that to reach that point, you have to stop thinking in terms of I want to make my goals come true. I want to make my dreams come true. And you actually need to, dial into the habits that are needed to get you there. And the daily habits, I believe, are across 4 areas. It's your attractiveness. So if you're doing something for your attractiveness, you need to be as attractive as you possibly can be. All right. And only influencing what you can influence, and trying not to point out there, but it's more here, right? So you influence what you can influence, becoming as attractive as you possibly can, so that you waste less time in the mirror, knowing that you look as good as you can, right? Like, and then your marketing, knowing that even though you've got a great skill set and you can serve the world in some way that's impactful and helps humanity improve, you also need to be sure that you can market what you do for people very clearly, so that not only do they feel understood and like they've been seen and heard, but also you need to have that balance where you're not just coaching. If you're a creative coach, you're not just coaching. If you're an actor, you're not just acting. You need to also be able to make the offers to the companies that will invest in you as an entertainer or as a coach, the clients who will be able to afford your services as a coach. And yeah, that's where we are right now. We're at the David Charles Reynolds show, and there's gonna be a lot more that I want to talk about, but I don't want to just keep going, and rambling on. I'll just keep this at around where we. It's been 20 minutes, so that's okay. But yeah, if you liked this content, if it was helpful for you in some way, if you understood a little bit more about what is possible for you, if you just did I give you the four habits? The four habits are to do something that makes you really attractive, right? Go to the gym, for example, right? Do some yoga, Pilates, that sort of thing. And then have a marketing strategy to go with your skill level, all right? And then be creative. You were created in the image and likeness of God. Have a habit that allows you to be creative. For me, painting is one of the things I like to do. I also like to dance, right? I like to bust a move, mainly in the morning when everyone else is sleeping. I dance like no one's looking. People aren't actually looking at me, really. And yeah, I like to practice my moves then. And then the fourth one is to know how to sell. And when I say sell, I mean make high ticket sales, make sales that mean you can serve fewer people but make more money, right? And the way to do that is to become more valuable, all right? Don't seek equality, you want to seek relationship equity, so that you almost have an unfair advantage in the way you show up, because you've stacked your value. You've put your gifts, skills, talents, and cool ideas together, shining really brightly and using your light to attract awesome opportunities for yourself. So yeah, thank you for listening, and welcome to the David Charles Reynolds show. Walking around it, nah. Start talking about it. Yeah. Alright, cool. Much love. Speak soon.